Here today with Coach Chris Dudley of the Cinco Ranch Cougars. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well, Tony. I appreciate you having me on here this morning.
Now, one of the things I'm trying to do in these interviews is kind of emphasize the way a coach winds up where he is, what the path is there. And your path is a little different than most coaches in Texas. So kind of take us through where you grew up, your influences there, and how you wound up in Texas.
Sure. I'm from Pennsylvania. I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, up in the northwest corner, and went to a school, Erie Cathedral Prep. It's a private school in Pennsylvania. Up there, they have all the privates and publics together under one umbrella. It's not like down here in Texas where it's separate. So I grew up there in Erie, and then I played college football at Duquesne University. That's where I graduated from college. And really up there, this is back in 2002, if you're going to graduate from college, you're probably going to be a substitute teacher for a couple of years. There's not a lot of growth and new schools being built like there are down here in Texas and some other parts of the South. And, my brother was coaching down here. He was at Westside High School, and he said, come on down and interview or bring your suit and tie with you, and we'll go to some admin building and see if they have any openings. And sure enough, I was able to get a job right out of out of college, down here in Katy ISD. I was teaching at Taylor High School that first year, and then I was coaching at West Memorial Junior High. So I would kind of go back and forth, and that was a great experience that 1 year at the junior high level over at Westmo. And Bob Turney was one of the longtime coaches there. And Bill Huff-Smith, those guys have been around in KDSD for a long time. And the athletic coordinator, Chuck Dykes, who's still there to this day. So I got a chance to learn that first year under some great men to kind of mentor me as a very young educator and coach. And that second year, there was Cinco Ranch High School was growing, and they needed more teachers at Cinco Ranch. So the way that works, they have what's called an excess list, and the young guys on the totem pole around the district, they would get shuffled kind of to the campuses that may need some of those teachers, and I was one of those guys. So I got a chance to come over to Cinco Ranch that second year, and I was able to volunteer as a football coach that year for Coach Clayton's staff, and I coached wrestling as well that first year. I didn't know a thing about wrestling. You'd think I would, being from Pennsylvania, but no background in wrestling. But I got a chance to be around Coach Duchesne, who's a legend, not only here in Texas, but across the United States of America. He's a Hall of Fame wrestling coach. So I learned a lot of good lessons coaching wise from Coach Duchesne. And was that started my career, as a volunteer football assistant that first year back in 2003, and then 2004 through 2017, I was a linebacker coach here at Cinco Ranch, and Coach Simmons was our defensive coordinator all those years. So in terms of my defensive knowledge, Coach Simmons was really taught me everything I know on that side of the ball. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of things delegated throughout those years by Coach Clayton to myself, and was able to grow in different ways as a coach. And in 2018, I followed Coach Simmons over to Taylor High School. He got the head job over there, and I went over there to be the defensive coordinator. And then came back in this role after Coach Clayton retired in 2019. So just got done with my third year in this role here as the athletic coordinator, head coach at Cinco Ranch. Another guy I want to mention, those instrumental in me getting a start with Bubba Fife. And if you're around the Houston area, everybody knows Bubba Fife, from his head coaching days back at Taylor High School in the 80s, and then as an assistant athletic director in the district for a handful of years. And if you go to any district track meets or regional track meets, Bubba's going to be there as the starter and all that. And Bubba was instrumental in helping me get in the door coaching wise that first year at the junior high level, which I'll always be indebted to him for that. Because as a young guy, I was ready at that first year. I was, you're young, you don't really know anybody yet. And I was talking, maybe I need to go back up north and all that. Sure enough, I had some opportunities to stay down here, and it worked out well.
So you've learned from a lot of different people, and now you're in the position to be the mentor or the developer of your assistant coaches there at Cinco Ranch. Talk a little bit about that role for you as a mentor to develop your assistant coaches for whatever is going to be next for them.
Yeah, so we have, and here at Cinco Ranch, we have a staff that is a really good mix of guys. We've got some guys that have been doing it for a long time. We've got some guys that are kind of in their heyday. They've been doing it for a while now, but they're kind of in that middle ground of their career in terms of the experience. And then we got some young guys as well. So it's a really good mix of guys that are able to learn from each other a lot. I think it's my role really to be very clear and concise in the message and how we want to get things across as a program, that we're all speaking the same language to our kids, that we're all keeping consistent standards with our kids across things that are on the field, off the field, in the classroom. So that's big in terms of my role, I think, is making sure that the messaging to our kids, to our parents, to our community is consistent across the board. In terms of the X's and O's and football part, these guys are really good at what they do. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. So I think the worst thing I could do would be to try to micromanage those guys on that front. Give them the tools they need to be successful, whatever that is, and let them do what they do best, which is coach kids and develop them as a person, develop them as a player, and just let them grow in those roles. And if they have opportunities to go advance their careers, I want to do everything I can to help them do that. But that's important to me as well. That makes us proud as a staff if those opportunities pop up for those guys as well.
Now, I know at least last year, I don't know still this year, you have at least one former player that you coach, Zach Phillips, on your staff. Talk a little bit about that experience. These are players who are very familiar with as players, and now you're getting the chance to work with them as coaches and develop them very early in their coaching careers.
Yeah, I think that Zach is a great example of a kid that played here, had a very successful career at Cinco Ranch. He was here on our teams that went to the regional semifinals and then the state semifinals back in 08 and 09. And Zach was basically an all-state caliber player, led the state in interceptions his senior year. And he went on to do, play at the college level and got his coaching career started. And, it was an easy choice for me when Zach said he was interested in coming over and we had an opening for that. I know what I'm getting with Zach because I was around him for all those years. He knows about the program and the culture that we've had here at Cinco Ranch High School and the success. And, he's a great example of what our kids can become that are currently here. So for them to be able to look at him and say, he went through it. And, Zach is a very hard worker. He's very detail oriented. And anytime we get a chance to bring people back, if they want to genuinely be back in our campus, I think that's a great thing. And if it's a great fit, let's bring them along on the coaching staff. We have a couple others. We have Charlton Jones on our boys basketball staff. He was a standout player here. Sarah Jones is on our volleyball staff. She's a Cinco Ranch graduate. And there's a handful of teachers in the building as well that were Cinco graduates. So, it's been a great school, a great community, great athletic program for a long time. And I'm happy that those individuals are wanting to come back and give back to the young kids now that they're having relationships with.
Now, guys like me, we're football guys, and you don't really think about a lot outside of football. But as you mentioned there, your responsibilities go beyond football. You're the campus athletic coordinator for all the sports. So just talk a little bit about your role outside of football.
Yeah, so that's the campus athletic coordinator part. That's something that you got to take pride in. That's your number one job, is to manage your campus in terms of all the sports. And kind of some of the same things I was talking about a minute ago. You don't want to micromanage those people. You want to give them some discretion on how they run their programs, and you want to give them leadership and be there for them and support them, whether that's showing up for their games, showing up at some of their practices, being there in tough situations that come up. The athletic program overall, that's something that our community is proud of, and we want that to be consistent in terms of how, there's a few things that are consistent. We want to make sure we're taking care of these kids, as a person first. We want to make sure we're giving them the tools to be successful. We want to build up their character. We want to value teamwork across our program. So there are some things that cut across all of our programs, and we want to be very competitive. The wins and losses, they're important. They are, but we also want to make sure intertwined in that is understanding we want to build these kids into great young men, great young ladies. And when they leave here, they have those tools and really those advantages that set them apart from their competitors, whether it's at the college level that they're going to, or whether it's into the workforce down the road. We want them to have that in their toolbox, those lessons they learn from our coaches here at Cinco Ranch, so they can be successful down the road. So when you talk about athletics and an athletic program, the value in that education-based athletics here at the high school level, I mean, you cannot put a price tag on how valuable that is for this generation.
All right. Now let's talk a little about football. Program was down for a couple of years, but last year, back in the playoffs, third round of the playoffs. What do you have coming back, and what do you think what are you looking like so far in the spring, and what do you think you're going to look like in the fall?
Yeah, so last year was it was so rewarding for those kids that because there was a handful of those kids that were on those teams that struggled in terms of the wins and losses those two previous years, and to see them stay through the process and stay committed, and to have that success, it was great for our kids. It was great for our school, great for our community, to get us back on the map and to be playing those big games that we want to play, play at venues like University of Houston and be in the regional semifinals. And, that was just a catalyst for us. And our kids really, it locked it in that, what we're doing, the process that we started back in 2019 with the building the culture here and the standards it's that they're seeing that through and seeing that there is value there, and it was worth it. This year coming up, we got a handful of offensive kids back that were starters for us, our skill position kids. When you look at our quarterback, Gavin Rutherford, and he did a tremendous job these last couple of years. His leadership qualities are outstanding. His football skills, he's the best quarterback to ever come through here in terms of just the whole package of that quarterback position. And he's got some great weapons around him at the receiver spots. Seth Salvarino and Noah Abood and Fisher Reed. And there's a couple other guys in that receiver room that were varsity contributors last year. So that position on our team is very well stocked right now. And then we got both running backs from last year back as well, Sam McKnight and Eric Ekstrom. So we feel really good about what we're going to be able to do offensively. We've got an offensive line that's going to be bigger than we were last year. Those guys, we were a little undersized. Those guys performed very well with the size they had. And I think this year we'll be a little bit bigger up front. And we got to have some guys step up in those roles to make sure we're able to be balanced offensively, be able to run the ball, and then keep Gavin clean in the pocket and be able to move the ball that way. On the defensive side, we got to replace 9 starters, but we feel really good about the pieces that are about to step into those roles. We've got several kids that were varsity backups that saw extensive time during the season last year. So it's not that we're coming in, these kids are coming in just raw from the JV team. A lot of these kids have varsity experience. And I think they're ready to step up in that. And then we had a very good JV team that some of those kids are going to step in, and just like everyone has kids that step in from that JV or sophomore team or freshman team from the year before, and they're going to fill those voids. So overall, we feel good with where our program is headed, and in terms of on the field and off the field. And we're really looking forward to this next year in District 19 6A.
Now, Gavin Rutherford is all over the record books already. I believe he's closing in, if he hasn't already hit a lot of the career records, he's closing in on those. If you can, just go a little more into detail on what you see, his skill set, and how you think that translates for him down the road.
Yeah, Gavin's a kid that when you look at him on the field, he's got that pocket presence. He's got the ability to make every throw on the field at the high school level. Not many kids can do that. I know one of the things that's rare is just that, those corner routes, those deep corner routes, he's able to drop the ball in on those that in 20 years, I've never seen a kid at the high school level be able to do it like he can. Got really good zip on the ball, and obviously the accuracy's there. He's a kid that he can take a hit in the pocket. He's tough as nails. He's very competitive. One of the things that's really refreshing about Gavin is, him getting all these accolades and records. He's still that kid that's running out to the practice field each day. He understands the value of practice and how it correlates to his game performance. So, there's so many things in the intangibles are through the roof as well that he brings to the table. And even as a runner, he's a kid that he's not a burner, but he can keep plays alive in the pocket. He can scramble and move the chains when needed. And even some design quarterback run stuff. We started to do more of that later in the year, and he was effective running the ball. So we're not afraid to run him some too. He's a big, strong kid, big physical kid. He's had, Coach Edmondson, Larry Edmondson's our co-offensive coordinator, and Larry's been an FBS coach for 25, 30 years at various stops in the SEC, and he was at Rice for a while as a coordinator and some other spots. And for Larry to be able to work with him since he was a young kid here, that's done wonders for Gavin as well, and his maturity. And even Larry said when Gavin was in that freshman year, he said this kid's football IQ is impressive for a freshman. That's one thing Gavin, he sees the game very well for a high school quarterback, even as a sophomore and junior. He saw things that most high school quarterbacks don't see out there in terms of reading coverage and understanding the game.
All right. Well, one more question before I let you go. This is the hard one. What's one thing about Chris Dudley that most people probably don't know?
Oh man. Well, I'll keep it with Cinco Ranch football. One key little fact that I think is pretty cool, I'm pretty proud of is, through my assistant years and now in this role, I think Cinco Ranch, we played, 35, 36 playoff games in our school's history. And I've been fortunate enough, I've been a part of every single playoff game that the school's had throughout the history. So I think that's a pretty neat thing. I'm proud of that. I know assistants come and go, head coaches come and go, but I've been able to keep that streak alive. So I was thinking about that the other day. So that's one thing that comes out.
All right. Well, that's impressive. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Coach, and definitely hope to see you out there some this summer at 707 and in the fall.
I appreciate it, Tony. Thanks for having me on.